processes and tips for successfully submitting applications for beach scholarships. Next slide. So the link to get to our beach scholarships is on your, this is what they're mostly parents here. So this would be on your students or your child's single sign-on. So there are a lot of little widgets on that single sign-on, and ours is called Beach Scholarships. So they can either go to the web address that we have here on the bottom right, or they can click on that little widget to get started. If they go into the widget, either way, actually, if they go into the widget or go to the link, they will need to sign into Beach Scholarships as well. So it's kind of like signing in twice. They sign into their single sign-on, then they go ahead and sign into Beach Scholarships. And it's the same sign-in information. It's their ID and their password that they use for their SSO. And next slide. So you'll notice that our scholarships are for all colleges here on campus. So regardless of what your child is going to be studying, there are scholarship opportunities for them. We do get questions sometimes about students that are undeclared. They can still submit their general application. I'm going to go over the details of that later. They can still submit that and potentially be matched to scholarship opportunities in our system that don't require you to be in the arts or in business or education, et cetera. We have scholarships based on college major and university-wide scholarships. So a student ID is required to sign in, as mentioned before, and students must be matriculated, meaning they've been accepted to CSULB and they are set to get started with their classes. Either they're already in school or they're starting in the fall, which I believe most of you have students starting in the fall of this year. We do encourage our students to apply for beach scholarships every season that it's open, regardless of immigration status or even financial aid status in some cases. Next slide, please. And there's an animation here, Cameron, you could go ahead and, yeah. So there are 2 seasons of beach scholarships. There is the fall season, which opens in August, closes in September, so it's about a month long. And our spring season, which is currently open, it opens in January and closes in March. What we do with these seasons is we align the start dates with the start of the fall and the spring semesters so that students don't have to remember multiple dates. They start school, they start their applications. Okay. So now I'm going to go over the actual application process. Next slide for me. There's some animations on this one too, but we'll go as we go. So there are 3 different levels of the application status. There's a general application, which is, I call it the gateway to all the other scholarships that we have available. The general application is the bulk of the open essay questions and boxes that you have to check off. There's the departmental application, which is major specific. Once you submit your general application, if you are if you did declare a major, then you will be matched to your departmental application for further information to be entered. And then at the end of that is your recommended scholarships. But I'm going to break down each application a bit so you kind of see what they look like. We'll start with the general application. So the general application is going to ask you to ask your student to put in their anticipated grad date. So anticipated just means when they plan to graduate, or when their advisor, they have a plan laid out when it's projected that they'll graduate. If they end up graduating a semester before or after that anticipated grad date, they're not going to lose their scholarships or anything like that. Just anticipated when they expect to graduate. Another reason why we use this is because if, say we're in the season currently and I'm going to graduate at the end of this season, I wouldn't apply for scholarships since most of them pay the next semester, which would be fall 23. And if I'm graduated already, then I won't be eligible for scholarships for this season. The next part of this is to have them select all that apply to them. These are statements that will check off that they'll check off that best describe them. So there's statements like, I'm a first generation student, I'm a single parent, I'm a reentry student, I work 20 hours or more per week. And those answers, or checking off those boxes, will help build your recommended scholarships list, which, if you remember, is the third part of the scholarship application process. And we'll touch on that later. So go ahead and click again, and it should bring up the questions. So there are 5 general short answer questions. Each question has a 250 word maximum. So they don't have to write pages and pages of a story. 250 word maximum is great. Sorry, hold on just a moment here. The first question is to have that they'll want to describe their personal background and any obstacles or challenges that they've overcome. This doesn't have to be a traumatic experience. It could be really anything that goes along with kind of the trajectory of their life. So maybe something like, my personal background is I was raised by a single parent in a single parent home. There were 5 of us, and I'm the oldest. So when my parent was working, I would have to juggle my homework with kind of making sure that my siblings had snacks and things like that while the parent was still at work, which kind of affected my schoolwork a little bit. I usually had to make sure that they were getting their schoolwork done before I did mine. And yeah, it's a challenge, but I overcame it by setting myself a schedule and making sure that I had enough sleep, things like that. So it's not like something just traumatic that's happened to me. It's just some challenges that I've had to overcome. And say my story is from when I was in high school. It could be at any time of their life. It could be something that went on in junior high that they want to talk about, elementary school, community college, if they're coming from there. So again, it doesn't have to be a traumatic life experience. Reasons for choosing their academic field of study, including any concentrations. So this is where they can list the reason why they're going to major and what they're majoring in. They get to talk about, what they're passionate about and why they're studying for this. And that includes any concentrations. For students that are undeclared, they could put things that they're interested in, things that they're thinking about majoring in, and why. That's a good way of kind of answering that question or tackling it if they haven't selected a major. Discuss your short and long-term academic and or professional achievements. We've all been on a job interview before, for the most part, and this is a question that's usually asked in interviews. What's your short and long-term goals? That should say goals and not achievements, actually. So that's something I'll need to correct. So that could be short term would be when you graduate, right? So when you graduate college, what do you plan on doing? And then long term would be maybe 5 years after that, just to kind of give you a range. It doesn't have to fit in that bubble. Maybe their short term goal is to go to grad school. And then maybe after that, they're going to go backpacking in Europe for a year, and then they're going to start their career. It's really up to them. The next question is to discuss 3 academic, leadership, volunteer, community, and or professional achievements. We only need 3, and it could be a mixture of any 3 of those. So it could be leadership, volunteer, community. It can be 3 communities, 2 communities and a leadership, 3 volunteers, 1 volunteer and a professional achievement, and maybe a leadership. A combination as long as there's 3. So when you're talking to your child about applying for scholarships and they're answering this question, the best advice I can give is make sure there's 3. Your child has done 3 things. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be things that they did as an adult. It could be something they did when they were a kid, something that they did in middle school. So something small, like say the neighbor is elderly and they have a hard time getting up and down their steps. So maybe your child picks up the paper for them, or brings their mail in for them, or brings in their groceries. That's community, right? That's volunteering to help. Maybe they picked up trash on the beach. That's volunteer. Helping in a soup kitchen, starting a club on campus in high school, anything like that could be considered. Just make sure they have 3. And last is describing financial need. Now I know that A lot of you may have helped your child complete the financial aid application. That could be the FAFSA form or the CADA form for our DREAM students. The FAFSA goes over what is reported on your taxes and comes up with a dollar amount that best shows what you're potentially able to contribute to your child's education. That's not what this is asking. This is asking for any changes or anything that say wouldn't be on that financial aid application. So for example, maybe it's just me and I'm not married and I don't have children, but I have a minor sibling and I take care of her. And I'm not her guardian or anything like that. She just lives with me. She's in high school. I financially care for her right now. So that might be something that can be mentioned just as an example, right? It's asking for something very specific, not so much well, we live in California, it's expensive, right? I mean, we all need more money because it is expensive to live here. They want to know more than that, more than the standard, well, I have a lot of bills to pay. Recent changes would be helpful. And again, that's 250 word maximum, so they don't have to write a life story. I would suggest that they copy and paste these questions on a Word document just so they could spend some time kind of articulating their answers and then pop those answers on there and save and submit that, or save and keep editing. The system does time out every 20 minutes. So if your student goes in and starts typing out answers and they get distracted because they have to walk away and get a snack, and it logs them out and they don't save, they've lost all of that. So it's always good to have kind of a little side Word document with all the answers on there saved first, and then copying and pasting it over is some advice I'd like to give. Next slide, please, Cameron. So once you are done with that part, you will click finish and submit on the bottom right-hand side of that screen, and it will take you to the next application series, which is the departmental application. These are for students that have selected a major, right? So this is also referred to as the college level application. Questions vary on these. It really depends on what your student is majoring in. So they may need to select all that applies. So say if I'm in, say my major is dance and I'm in College of the Arts, it might ask, what are you studying in College of the Arts? And I would check off dance with a concentration on ballet or something like that. General short answer questions might be on some of those. It may be things like, going back to College of the Arts, could be something like, what got you into dance? Why are you passionate about ballet? You might need to upload an audition tape. So say a video of me doing my ballet on stage, and I could upload or add a link to that YouTube page or wherever I'm uploading it at. It may ask for references or letters of recommendation, a resume, potentially unofficial transcripts from your community college or high school. For the resume, if your child has never worked before, they could still create a resume, right? They just have education experience and no work experience, and that's fine. They're not going to get denied a scholarship because they've never worked before. References and letters of recommendation, for the most part, the application is asked for the name and contact information for the reference or for the person who would be willing to write a letter of recommendation. These are people that your student has had as mentors. It might be a school counselor or their mental health counselor, or it could be, if they are affiliated with a church, maybe it's their church leader, somebody that they know in a professional capacity, right? Not a friend or a relative. Because a friend or a relative is going to say how much they love them and how they should get all the scholarship, right? And then unofficial transcripts, which you can get free online for the most part. And go ahead and click next slide. Oh, sorry, that pops up later, doesn't it? You can click next again. Sorry about that. So once you finish and submit that application series, you'll be auto-matched to college and departmental scholarships for which you qualify. And I want to touch on auto-matched for just a second. There are two types of scholarship applications that are available in Beach Scholarships. One of them is auto-match opportunities. So these are opportunities that are asking for specific qualifications to be met. So remember, I'm the ballet dancer, right? So I'm in the system, it's got my name and my ID, it has my major, which is dance. And it's going to match me to whatever dance scholarships are available to me for students who are in dance, right? And meets the qualification for the GPA. Say it's 3.5, I have a 3.8, I'll be matched to that. That means I don't have to do anything else except submit, and it gets auto matched. Then there are ones that we call apply to. Those types of scholarships are ones that your student would need to click on to apply to them. So they're going to match things like she's in dance, she's a 3.8 GPA. And it might ask another question like, are you a member of the Black and Pan African Center? Or are you currently a part of the Bob Cole Conservatory for a music student, for example? So those are things that they'd want to answer specifically for that opportunity. Go ahead and click next slide. All right, so we have application series number 1, which is the general application. We have application series number 2, which is the departmental or college level application. And the third and last step would be recommended scholarships. So these are scholarships that a list, this is a scholarships list that is built based on the checkboxes that your student has selected during the whole application process. So that goes towards the please select all that apply that I talked about at the top of this presentation. You know, I'm a reentry student, I'm a single parent to a minor child, I work 20 hours or more per week. So it's going to match me to scholarship opportunities that have qualifications like that. Like this scholarship is for students who work part-time, at least part-time. Or this is a scholarship for students who are registered with the Bob Murphy Access Center. And maybe I check that box. So there may be general short answer questions there, short essays that they'll have to write, references or letters of recommendation like before, a resume and unofficial transcripts and research documents. They'll want to just look at the requirements for that specific scholarship in recommended before they apply. Just because the scholarship is recommended to them doesn't mean they're a fit for it, right? So maybe I'm being recommended a scholarship because I checked off that I am participate in the Bob Murphy Access Center. And maybe I participate in there because I have a visual disability, right? Maybe I'm blind. And the recommended scholarship is for students who are physically disabled. I wouldn't apply for that because my disability isn't physical, if that makes sense. So they'll just want to read it and apply. The best advice I can give is don't apply for everything that you can get your hands on, right? Because the only time that's being wasted is your students. If you apply for a scholarship you don't qualify for, you're not going to get it. That's just simple as that. So only apply for the ones that you qualify for. Next slide, please. All right, so we'll recap. The general application must be submitted first. So before you can do anything at all, you have to go through the general application process. That is the gateway for you to be considered for all scholarships within Beach Scholarships. It automatically applies you to the general and university-wide scholarships that are available, and it helps you to create your recommended scholarships list. If you can click the arrow for me, Cameron, it's going to show what it looks like here. So when your student first logs in here, they're going to see the general application is going to welcome them here. And they're going to walk through the different questions we went over in the beginning, right? So here's the please select all the apply at the bottom with the anticipated semester. And underneath those check boxes is where they'll answer those 5 short answer questions. Go ahead. And then you'll notice on the bottom right where there's save and keep editing and finish and submit. Save and keep editing just saves where they're at, right? Keeps a copy of it so that if it times out, everything that they've entered in is complete. Save and keep editing does not submit the scholarship application. You must click finish and submit in order for it to be considered. So that's something I like to point out, to make sure to click the black and white button, right? When you're done, and you're ready for us to review. Go ahead and click next. So for the departmental application, once you click that black and white button for finish and submit, you will automatically be applied to any college or departmental scholarships that fit the criteria that you have listed in your bio, right? dance, College of the Arts, ballet, things like that. It automatically applies you to those, helps you create your recommended list, and also helps you to apply for those specific apply to scholarships that you might be a fit for. If you click the arrow, it should show what that looks like. So you'll notice that there's a little bubble next to general application here. And then there's a little line that goes down to the college, right? So in this instance, it is talking about College of the Arts. I do want to make a comment about College of the Arts. They have many different aspects of that college, right? They have arts, they have sculpture, they have design, theater, music. Your student will only need to answer questions pertaining to their specific major in the College of the Arts application, if they're a member of College of the Arts, right? Or if that's their major. So once they start in here, if they are College of the Arts, they're just going to scroll down that list until they find their section. Their, mine, for example, is dance, right? So I'm going to look for the dance one. Only answer those questions, leave everything else blank. Okay. Go ahead and click next. And lastly, once you finish and submit, right, black and white button again, your departmental application, you'll get the most comprehensive list of recommended scholarships. You'll want to make sure you read that criteria, because remember, you only want to apply for scholarships that you may qualify for. Okay. You must apply to each Beach Scholarships opportunity that you are a fit for individually, right? So remember, there's auto match and apply to. Apply to are the ones that you have to do each one for, and there is a button to click to apply to that if you meet the qualifications. And go ahead and click the arrow, and it should show what that looks like. I know that's small, I apologize for that. So here's our little arrows. They're check boxes that tell you, great, we have, ooh, look at that. It's much nicer, much better than I would have done. So the general application checkbox confirms that you've finished and submitted that application. The checkbox next to your college confirms that you finished and submitted that one. So now we're at our other recommended opportunities. You'll notice that some of them have a black button that says apply. Those are the apply to ones, right? And you would click on each one to see if you qualify for Friends of Philosophy. If you're not a philosophy major or minor, you wouldn't apply for that, right? So you want to click and look at that. And then Rotary Club of Long Beach Centennial, Winnington Scholarships, there's all kinds of different opportunities that might come up on the recommended list. And I'll go ahead and click the arrow again. So the other way that they can access this, if say they submit their first two applications, leave, and decide to come back and apply for those recommended opportunities, they can access it on the left here where this black dot is, other recommended opportunities, or up at the top, there is a drop-down arrow and it will show recommended and all, and they'll want to click on recommended scholarships. There's also a section that says grants on there and external, which we'll talk about momentarily. Go ahead and click next. One more time. So here's the grant and external opportunities section that I mentioned before. This is where you could find any grant opportunities that may be available to your students, like the metric program, if they're a part of that. There are also external opportunities that we post. So we don't, we only post for information purposes only. This, the external opportunities list that we do post are outside of CSULB. It doesn't constitute that an endorsement by us in any way. What we've done with these opportunities is we've gone through a vetting process to make sure that they're legitimate, right? We'll talk about when something might not be legitimate, but we make sure that they're legitimate. We give them a thorough vetting, and then we post them so that your student can look for other opportunities outside of CSULB that might help with their education here. There are also scholarship search sites that they can look into that are on this external list. Things like fastweb.com, which they may already get advertisements for, especially if they're seniors in high school. It's a great search site. They can sign up for it and they can really filter it out, right? Filter it to the detail of what they're looking for. So remember, I'm a dance major, right? So I'm going to look for my dance scholarship. So I'm in dance. I am going to school in California. I have a GPA, say I have a GPA 4.0, so I want those types of scholarships. I am non-binary, so maybe I look for those types of scholarships. And anything else that I volunteer with, I might want to put that as a qualifier, a checkpoint filter for me to be matched with the most comprehensive list of scholarships on that site. So it's just another way for students to apply to more opportunities. Go ahead and click next for me. And here's that metric grant that I mentioned to you all. So this is for metric students. Thank you for your question. It is fast, like quick, F-A-S-T, web, like a spider web. So fastweb, all one word, .com. Thank you, Cameron. And we can click next. And soon this is what the external opportunities list kind of looks like. It's been updated a bit. Course Hero is still on there. You're welcome, Luz. Course Hero is still on there, so that's another one that that they can go into and take a look at opportunities within that search site. You can click next for me. All right, so let's talk about the big part, right? Communication. When do you know, or how do you know things are submitted, right? The first part of communication is an email. Confirmation email will be sent after each application you complete. So you'll get one for the general application, you'll get one for any of those apply to applications, right? Thank you for submitting your application to Rotary. Thank you for submitting your application to the, dance fund scholarship or whatever. So you want to keep an eye on your email to make sure that you are getting those emails in your inbox and they're not going to your junk. The second part of this is that students are notified by the end of semester whether they got a scholarship or not. So currently we're in our spring season, which ends Monday the 13th at 11:59 p.m. So if your student is currently matriculated, they're currently attending, or they're matriculated for fall, they can go in, they can go into their single sign-on, they can apply for these opportunities, and they have until Monday at 11:59 p.m. to get those submitted. All students are notified at the end of the semester whether or not they receive a scholarship, and they're notified by email. That gives us time to review the applications for the donors to make their decisions and us to get things out to the students, letting them know that they either got a scholarship or didn't. All students, regardless of whether they received a scholarship or not, will receive a notification at the close of the season. So for example, this season ends on Monday the 13th. But we'll send confirmations out probably by the end of the semester. So most likely May or June is when notifications will start to go out. So typically they'll get them obviously before the next semester starts, so they know kind of what their financial aid package is going to look like. And then they'll also be notified if they didn't get anything, saying, we're sorry you weren't selected, please apply next season. And I will reiterate that. Please apply next season, right? Just because you didn't receive a scholarship this semester doesn't mean you won't get it next semester or the semester after or the semester after. There's always an opportunity to apply and get a scholarship. I know that it's a pain sometimes, you spend a lot of time on it, but at the end of the day, if you get a scholarship from it, that's a win, right? Well, at least you tried. Go ahead and click next. That's my pep talk. So some tips and best practices. Obviously, read the directions thoroughly and complete all the required fields. Don't leave anything blank. Going back to the 3 leadership volunteer activities that I mentioned in the general application, make sure there are 3. It's asking for 3. I know that your student can come up with 3, even if it's picking up trash, right? Just have them list 3. Make sure they answer the question. That goes without saying. Don't skip anything or put non-applicable or NA, because there's always an answer to it, right? Allocate time. This is important because our students are going to school. Most of them are going full-time. Some of them are working also while they're going to school. So allocating time can be really tricky when you barely have time as it is to eat and sleep. They'll want to allocate time for this the way that they would allocate time for a paper they have to write, right? So depending on what your time management is, maybe the paper is due on Monday. So how are you going to plan out your week to make sure that this paper is completed and submitted by Monday night? That's how they'll want to kind of treat it, right? Like a homework assignment. Work collaboratively and have someone review your work. You all can review your students' work. Now, this doesn't mean that their grammar has to be great or their spelling has to be great. We're not grading anybody on spelling or grammar, right? Maybe your English speaking is really great, but your English writing isn't that great. That's fine. We don't judge, right? Totally fine. The only thing that we ask is that it's written in English. That's it. So if, say, English is not their first language, they can write it in their own language and then just translate it before they copy and paste, and that's fine. And then save your applications. Save everything, especially those 5 questions. If you save it on a Word document and there's another season where you can go ahead and apply again, you can look at those questions again and see if you want to update them or change it to a different, something that an obstacle that you accomplished. Maybe you want to change the answer to a different accomplishment, whatever you want. At least you have that in the bag. In addition to that, say you're applying for scholarships off of FastWeb or another scholarship site for whatever reason, and it asks the same question. You already have your answer. Copy and paste, you're done. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Go ahead and click next for me. So students will receive their scholarship disbursement the following semester after the application deadline. So we need to obviously go through the applications and select the winner. So there's no same semester scholarships. Mostly these scholarships pay the next semester. So again, we're in our spring season, which means at the end of the spring, we will decide, or they will decide what the recipients of the scholarships will be, and the disbursements begin in the fall of 2023, which is the next semester. And then there's some cheat here. So fall application season disperses the next semester, which is spring. Spring application season disbursement is the following fall. You'll notice that there's nothing here for summer or winter. We do not have scholarships for summer or winter through scholarships at this time. Go ahead and click next. And if you have further questions, these are ways that your student can contact us. They could chat with LB, which is our, it's like an online chat AI. It's a shark, and they can answer real basic questions. You can call our office, which is option 4 in enrollment services, or they can join the queue and meet with a financial aid counselor that can talk to them about things like that. Like what I've discussed, right? General application, making sure things are submitted, or any troubleshooting if they're having problems with the site. What they don't want to come in for is advice on how to answer. So there are financial aid counselors here. I'm a scholarship coordinator, but we don't give advice on how you should answer a question, nor can we give advice on whether the answer was good, because it's a conflict of interest, right? All the submitted applications, when they're being reviewed, they're all reassigned with numbers. So we don't know your name. We don't know anything about you unless you write, "Hi, I'm Cari Sparks," in your general application answer, but that avoids bias, right? So maybe like you're my best friend and you go to school here and I'm like, I'm going to give you the highest marks because you're my bestie. We do numbers and things like that so that it's anonymous. So yeah, we don't give advice on whether the answers are good or not. We don't know. And then you'll go ahead and click next. And that's it. That's all I got. I know that there's some questions that are popping up in the chat. I appreciate you all listening to my vocal fry today. Let's take a look here. What these questions are.
So we did have a parent ask about when you apply. I think you answered that on your last slide. So basically, if you're applying in the fall, then you get the scholarship in the spring semester.
So right now we're in our spring application season, which means you can apply right now if you're matriculated, right? Apply, get it submitted. If you're selected for a scholarship, it would disperse the next semester, which is fall.
And then a parent was asking what the deadlines for applications are.
It is Monday, March 13th at 11:59 p.m. on the dot. The system will not allow you to submit after it hits midnight. So don't be a last minute Lucy. Submit early. Tell them to get on it this weekend, right? Yes, Cameron, you can. To answer your question, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, because a few parents were asking. I share this video on the Parent and Family YouTube, which I will put up at the end for you guys to follow. I also post it on the Beach Family portal. But I can go ahead as well and share the slideshow on the Beach Family portal as well for everybody.
Cool. There's also a link. Let me pull it. There's a link I'm going to put in the chat for everyone. This is, you'll notice that you see things like thanks for watching and things like that. I actually have a recording of this where you can hear my voice and less of a vocal fry talk about exactly what we talked about today, but a real basic, right? Because I'm just recording a video. Gives you the real basic. These are the things that you want to do without the fluff. And I'm going to get you all that link right now. You can watch it anytime. It's about 5 minutes long. Let's see.
Cari, I'll read you this new question while you're pulling that up.
Alrighty.
No has been living has their driver's license will be eligible for in-state scholarships come June. Can they apply for in-state now? Okay, so the parent's basically saying their child will be eligible for in-state scholarships once it's June, but can they apply for in-state scholarships now?
Yeah. So what your child is going through, you all are, they moved here from another state and they're just proving California residency, if I'm getting that right, for state financial aid purposes. So that's things like the Cal grant, state university grant, and things like that. And for in-state tuition, right? Because out-of-state tuition is really high. That has nothing to do with these. So even if they weren't considered a California resident, they could still apply for most of these scholarships.
Thank you. And then does scholarship apply for foreign students or only external opportunities?
That's a wonderful question. All of our opportunities are available to international students as well. So I did mention at the top of this that we're looking at financial need for a lot of these scholarships. If you're an international student, you can't submit a FAFSA, you can't submit a DREAM application, right? So how are we going to know that you have financial need or that you have something to attach to those financial need type scholarships? We have something called a needs analysis form. It is a paper form. I know it's kind of clunky, but that's what we have basically for right now. You can send an email. Sorry, I'm still trying to pull the link to the video and I'm not going to leave without giving you all of that, but I'm going to give you this email here. This email is only to be utilized to request that document. Otherwise, it doesn't get responded to. You would need to schedule an appointment with a financial aid counselor. But that's the email where if you have an international student and they need that needs analysis form, they could say, hi, I'm Cari. I'm an international student. My student ID is blah, blah, blah. I am trying to apply for scholarships and would like the needs analysis form because I can't do a FAFSA or DREAM application because I am an international student. The needs analysis is only for international students or students that are not a U.S. citizen or permanent resident.
Also, I see the urgency of wanting this to be posted since that deadline's coming up. So I can try to get this posted as quickly as possible. It just takes time to download it, but I could try to get it posted by tomorrow. But also, Cari, you said you're going to send out that video.
Yeah, I'm gonna share it right now. For some reason, my YouTube was not opening up. So as I mentioned earlier, this YouTube video is exactly what I went over with the same exact slides. Same stuff, less vocal fry. Okay, just put that link up in the chat for y'all.
Thank you.
Any other?
Yes, do we have any other questions?
Looks like specific scholarships or financial aid opportunities to help with that out-of-state expensive tuition. So that's a really good question. So yeah, technically. So I know that that's kind of vague. Let's look at it from a financial aid perspective. I was a counselor for many years in financial aid before I became a scholarships coordinator. So I'm pretty well versed in the financial aid world. So all students have a budget. It's called a cost of attendance budget. And that budget lists out this is the cost for tuition. This is the mandatory fees costs, books and supplies, housing, if you're living on campus or off campus, food, transportation, your needs basically as a student going to school full-time, right? You need to eat, you need a place to lay your head, you need to pay for your tuition, your mandatory fees, and your supplies, right? Real basic stuff. So say your budget is $25,000, whatever the current budget is. You can get financial aid up to your cost of attendance budget. So that budget, there is one for out of state, right? That you can look at to see how much it's going to kind of cost for everything to give you an idea. And you can apply for however much and however many that you want that fit within that budget. So the short answer is, yeah, but none of them pay the out of state tuition portion specifically, but you might have enough in scholarship and financial aid juggling to be able to afford to pay for all of that without coming out of pocket for a lot of it. That's my hope anyway. That's the idea behind scholarships, right? Apply for as many as you can, try to get as much as you can, try to get that instead of getting loans, right? Who wants a loan? I don't. I have student loans too that I'm paying off, and I wish I didn't have them, but it's a reality that sometimes there are things that just cost more than what a grant will cover. Maybe you get enough scholarships where you don't need a loan. Say you go over that budget, that $25,000 budget, and you get more scholarships. We're going to look at things we can replace. Did you cover that budget with loans? We're going to get rid of those loans and replace it with a scholarship so you don't have any debt, right? Things like that. Then if you apply in spring and meet the deadline and it's dispersed in the fall, will it pay against spring semester? I am interpreting this as, will it pay against spring? Are you talking about this current spring semester or the following spring semester after fall? If you can elaborate on that a little bit. Current. No scholarships will pay the current semester. Fall season, which is in August of this year, will pay the next spring of 2024. I hope that helps, Kevin. And if my student didn't qualify for financial aid, can he still apply for a scholarship? Yes, he can. Yes, he can. And he'd better. Now that you tell me he doesn't get any other financial aid, he better apply for a scholarship, right? There might be something out there for him. I don't know if there are any, are most of the parents here, are you all undergraduate students that are starting? Anybody starting grad school?
I think most of it is transfer parents and first year parents. I'm not sure if we
That's
have
what
any
I was
graduate.
thinking. That's what I was thinking. Okay. I only asked that because there's not a lot of financial aid for grad students, but there are scholarships available for grad students. I won't go into detail about that because you all aren't there yet, but as your student progresses, if they're looking into grad school, meet with a financial aid counselor and say, hey, is there any scholarships for me? Hey, I'm going to USC. Who do I talk to over there about scholarships? We can at least point them somewhere, right? Go talk to the financial aid office, see if they have a scholarships coordinator.
Yes, I'm in graduate school here and there's not a lot, but I've found scholarships and I've qualified for them. So they're out there.
Good, good. And that means you're applying this season, right, Cameron?
So I applied in the fall. And so I got it this semester. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Apply again for fall. Keep going. Keep going. Every season, you can apply every season. Even if it's the same exact answers that you submitted in the fall, you could submit it again for spring and be considered for those scholarships too.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's see, Career College Center that can assist freshman students with this application process. I don't know of any. Cameron, do you know of any like tutoring centers or anything that might be able to help students navigate this?
Well, as far as Career Center, I mean, here on the second floor of Brotman Hall, we do have a career development center. It's helped me a lot with shaping my resume and like my letter of introduction. So that could be a possible resource. I'll put that in the chat in a minute. But not really. I mean, really, I didn't know a whole lot about it either. And I went to undergrad here as well. And that Beach Scholarships website, like widget that Cari displayed earlier, if your student goes there, it's pretty straightforward of an application process and it tells you exactly what you need to qualify. So it wasn't too confusing.
And if you don't understand a question on there, you can call us. call our office and say, hey, I'm filling out the beach scholarships application process and I'm in dance and it's asking me for this and I'm not really sure what that means. That's fine. We can reinterpret it for you. But we
Cari,
don't help with the application process. We could just help you interpret it.
sorry, I got a direct question from a parent. They were asking, do you also coordinate the UHP or President's Scholarship?
Yes, we do. We do. I don't personally, but yes, we do. Financial aid and scholarships does. Let's see, location, and then Raina. My daughter's freshman, set to graduate 2.5 years and planning to go to grad school. Is she able to use any leftover scholarship money at the end? Yeah. So your students, and this goes for everybody here, your students are going to apply for everything that they can to try to help financially, right? We can't all pay out of pocket for our students' education as much as we wish we could. I am sure that 99% of you are going to or have already applied for financial aid. You're probably going to get more financial aid than what your child is going to be charged. For example, let's go back to that cost of attendance budget. We only charge tuition, mandatory fees, and housing if your student is going to dorm here, right? Everything else is on your own, your groceries, your transportation, right, gas, or your bus pass, things like that. That money that pays for whatever tuition and fees will go towards that first. Whatever's left over in the money that you're getting per semester, that your student's getting per semester, will be refunded to them. The best advice I can give to any freshman student or transfer student is, if they haven't done it already, open a savings account, right? Savings accounts collect interest if you have money just sitting there. So even if it's loan money, have them throw it in a savings account. Tell them to pull from that for the money that they need, right, to survive, and keep the rest of it in there. Say they got loans, right? It's the end of your daughter's 2.5 years of school. She's getting ready to go to grad school. She still has money in her savings. And she's like, gosh, you know, I got like $7,000 in loans and I have $8,000 in my savings right now. I'm going to pay all my loans back and put 1,000 towards grad school. Do it. Whatever refunds you're getting are yours to use towards future, especially scholarships. That's free money. Stick it in a savings account, earn money on that. Use it towards grad school. So yes. If they don't go to grad school and they still have money left and no loans, go on a vacation. It's your
It
money.
might be more fun.
I mean, just saying, especially someone who's in grad school right now, probably would rather go backpacking in Europe, right?
Yeah.
But definitely they want to make sure that they pay their loans back if they get loans at all. And then whatever's left over is theirs. Yeah, scholarships are related to financial need. Yeah, so a lot of scholarships are need-based, but there are scholarships that are considered for excellence honor roll. Things like if you participate in a club, right? So we have a scholarship called the CSULB Black Alumni Scholarship. And these are for students who participate or plan to participate in the Black and Pan-African Center here on campus. So if you've submitted your general application and you see the CSULB Black Alumni Scholarship, you open it and you're like, I'm already a part of the Black and Pan-African Center. Great. You click yes. That's all it's looking for. It's not looking for, actually, no, I think it's looking for GPA as well, but it's not looking for financial need. So there's one. Paid summer internships, I wouldn't have an answer to that one because we don't do internships and financial aid. That would probably be more like Career Center, Cameron.
Yeah, the Career Development Center, and I put that into the chat. They would be able to answer that.
So I will touch point on something when it comes to some paid internships. So there are some that I know are coming down the pipeline that they have things like, if you work, right, for whatever this internship is, we will pay you in a scholarship at CSULB. So you're not getting money in your pocket, you're getting a scholarship for completing those hours. It is treated like any other financial aid payment. It has to fit within your budget. It comes directly to us first to pay whatever the rules are, right? So if it's just scholarship money to pay for education related expenses and your expenses are paid in full, you're going to get a refund. That way, if you say, went to school during the summer and you had to pay out of pocket because there's not a lot of financial aid available for summer, you can use that internship money to pay yourself back at the end of the semester, just as an example, or bank it for grad school, right? Like we talked about earlier, or the backpacking trip, you know, whatever you decide. Did I miss any questions?
I think we have answered all the questions that are in the chat. We just got another one. Do the UHP scholarships have to be renewed each year if originally they were granted as a freshman?
Yes. So there's renewals available, but they do have to be selected again. There's a selection process that happens at the Honor Center, and they should have information there, I believe, on their website too. Let me see if I can plug that in the chat for you. I think I have it saved.
And as Cari's looking for that, do we have any last minute questions that we can answer for you? Well, if there's no last minute questions related to beach scholarships, right now on the screen, I have the contact for our parent and family office here at CSULB. So if you have questions that aren't necessarily related to beach scholarships, you can reach out to us. We're connected with a bunch of different campus partners here on campus, so we can help you locate that information that you need and get the answers that you need. And then as I was talking about earlier, that Beach Family Portal, that's where I will post today's video. And then also I post notifications and announcements about upcoming Beach Fireside Chats that we will have. So that's definitely a great resource for everybody to join. And I'll go ahead and put the link to our Beach Family Portal in the chat right now.
And I just put the link to the University Honors and President's Scholarships so you can see what their criteria is for your student.
Thank you.
Any other questions? These questions are really great. I really appreciate the engagement in this. I know it's a lot. I know it seems a little contrived in some of it, but please have your student apply. It's worth it to apply. Push, 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 right? All we can do is encourage them and then let them do what they're going to do as young adults. So I really appreciate you all listening to me today and taking time out for this. Cameron, thank you for the invite. This was really great. I'm looking forward to more of them. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you, Cari, for the helpful information.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye-bye.